I'm back.
Every time I walk out that door, every time I interact with anybody new, my purpose is to help change.
It's time to celebrate life. If you know that you're in charge of your life, it's time to stand up. If you know you want better for your life, it's time to stand up. If you know that you have what it takes to be in charge of your life, it's time to stand up. If you know that you are not just trying to be good for you, but for those around you, it's time to stand up. As a matter of fact, look to the person to your left and tell them you are enough.
I want to help you change, and just like you change, every time I interact with somebody, they help me change. It's no different than if I met an individual and they had 4 quarters and they needed change, or if I had $1 and they had 4 quarters, I needed change. We can swap the money. The value is still the same. They still got $1, I still got $1, but we both exchanged something, and it was a change for both of us. So every time I walk out that door, I inspire to help change lives just as much as lives have changed me.
Y'all been listening to the wrong people, watching the wrong things all your life, and it's time to put to rest all those negative thoughts, because you are enough. It's time to put to rest that self-doubt, because you are enough. It is time to get rid of that negative energy, because you are enough. It is time to stop listening to people that don't have the best interests of you in your life, because you are enough. So let's have a moment of silence. I want everybody to understand that you are the person that's in charge of your life. Everything that you have inside of you to be who you're supposed to be in life. You have a destiny, and that destiny can only be accomplished through you, by you, and only you, with the help of God. When you realize that you are the person you are, because you're not a carbon copy, there's only one you. They try to put you in a box. Society tries to put you in a box, but you can't be in a box. How can you be in a box when there's only one you? But then they tell you, think outside the box. What I'm trying to get you to understand is there is no box.
I want to pass on the things that I have to the generations behind me. By the time it's time for me to get called home and go to the grave, I want to be empty. I believe in bankrupting the cemetery, so I can't take this knowledge with me, because the cemetery is already full of brilliant ideas and unwritten books and innovative ideas. I can't take this with me, so I'm trying to leave it all here as Billy Graham Jr. to the next generation so somebody else can carry it on.
And we're back. Man, have I missed y'all. I'm sorry we weren't able to get on last week. Had all kinds of things going on. But we are here this week. And man, I must say, I missed you. I miss being able to talk to you. I miss being able to bring a guest on that's going to change your life for the better. Because you know, on this show, all we do is bring on different personalities, business owners, people that are living in their purpose, and they're driven by it, and they're living the life that they want to live according to what they want to live. Now, the person that I'm bringing on today, man, this guest, he has some things that are a part of this. It says say IT and security. You know, IT is a big market right now, and nothing is bigger than security. We always talked about your social security, password secure, everything secure from your social media. If you're a business owner, everything's secure. What do you have in place to make sure everything is secure in your life? Now, I could go in detail and tell you all the amazing accomplishments this young man has and all the amazing things that he's doing, not just for his family, but to help protect others. But I'm not even going to hold you up. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to let him tell you from his own mouth, because, man, he has a story to tell. So I bring to you the one, the only, Kenneth Richardson.
Hey, how you doing?
What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. Taking it easy. Holiday season.
I don't know. If I'm like that little background, I see some red and black, because I know you're from Georgia. So I'm just assuming red and black, it means Atlanta Falcons.
Yep, I'm in my room that's dedicated to the Falcons and the Hawks. You know, everything in Atlanta.
I might give you the Hawks, but them Falcons, we might let you make a pass tonight. We'll let it pass tonight.
All right, all right.
But nah, man, before we even get started, man, tell the world, who is Kenneth Richardson?
Kenneth Richardson, from Georgia. I've got a background in technology, uh, degree in computer science, master's in information systems, and then kind of worked my way over into cybersecurity while working in IT. It was almost like the way the world was shifting. Working desk side support, desktop support was seemed like it was going to be phased out from people starting to work remote and doing all
Yep.
different things. So I was like, let me jump into another field that's booming. So I jumped over into security. I built relationships to get in the field. So that's the key to getting in the field, building relationships. And I've been doing it for about 3.5 to 4 years now. I am.
Okay. Hold on. Let's go back. Before we even get to that part, so what was that thing, or how was your upbringing? Like, what made you go the path of the way you did to get your bachelor's and your master's in those degrees? Like, what was the shift to say, like, this is what I want to do when I grew up?
So I guess it started at a young age. Let me tell you, the first game I ever played on a computer was Oregon Trail. I might give away my age, but
You telling our age, man.
and it was something about sitting there, not only pressing the keys, but having to type in the commands to make the people go here and there. So from there through high school, I was always about technology and um, like the classes they offered in high school, technology, building robots, doing different stuff like that. I was like, man, this is cool. I'm gonna keep doing this. So from there, I went on to college, uh, got into the computer science field. Now, once I got there, it was a bit of a bumpy road because I was like, I don't want to do programming. What can I do other than programming? The programming takes up time, and if you miss one line, back in the day it was COBOL and all these
Yeah.
learning language, and I was like, this is gonna drive me nuts. So I was like, let me go over to the hardware side. So in college, I got and from on the hardware side, and I started working doing for myself and family, just building PCs, and you know, um, they called me, hey, I got this problem, and I kind of researched, talk them through a fix, and then from there it was all about getting the security on the systems, like that type of antivirus programs.
Yeah.
And man, once I got there, I was like, okay, yeah, this might be a little more interesting than working on this hardware. So the companies I was with, I kind of moved up from doing like sales to get over into the IT field. So once I got into the IT field, I did phone support, and then from there I moved on over to the help desk technical side, and then I became a lead for that team. So I just kind of kept going and moving because I was like, I don't want to get stuck here and get stuck doing this. So let me see how far I can go and what I can do. And then I jumped over into the cyber field. And man, it's so much more out there in the cyber field. Because right now, what I do as an analyst, and you got engineers, and you can go all the way to the top to being what's called a CISO, which is your chief security officer.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Now,
that's how I got where I am right now.
now, I'm curious. Now, this might be one of them questions that I want to know for myself personally, because I have three boys, and boy two, my second oldest. Like, I remember the day he came down and he was like, I need a debit card. And I'm like, you got a debit card? Because he was at the age we were still holding it for him. And it was like, I got to order a bunch of stuff on Amazon. We're like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, and it was basically him saying, I'm finna build a computer. And
Okay.
we're sitting there like, whoa, time out. What? Hold on, where did this come from? Because he's never, like, he was into playing video games like most kids are. But when he came with that, we were looking at each other, me and my wife, like, what? Oh, okay, like, we was like, you know what you're doing, and he went off into it, and he would come down. We got this kind of plug. I need this type of screwdriver, and he just naming different stuff. And that one day was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm finna check the power source. And I'm like, whoa. Like in my mind, I'm like, you finna set the house on fire. So I have to ask this question because it's some parents that might have been like me, because that was at the stage of my life where I was starting to transition, like, hey, I know what my kids are doing. I want to help push them in the path that they need to go to become better and follow their dreams.
Right.
So for you saying I was playing Oregon Trails and then going to robotics clubs and all that, what kind of support system did that come from your family and friends when you were saying, this is what I want to do?
I was never discouraged. It was always encouraged to follow what you want to do. At the time, I was also an athlete, so I was kind of playing sports and doing this at the same time, and that passion was fed into. It wasn't stopped. It was like, just if this is what you want to do, just do it, and we'll support you. There was no, I mean, money might have been an issue at times, but I was still supported. I would figure out a way. I would work little odd jobs to get the stuff that I needed.
Now, I don't want nobody to miss that, because Kenneth just gave us parents that are out there that first tip, like support the people around you, especially when it comes to your kids. Like we live in a time, and it's not really much shifted from back in the day. Like we kind of want to protect our family and our kids, especially, and guide them in a certain way. And they're telling us, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And we're like, nah, you'll be better over here being a doctor, a lawyer, a banker. Like, especially in our age, that was when the computers were just getting started. Like that was like a blind thing to go into, and your parents and family still supported you. That's amazing.
Yep.
Like,
It is.
So now let's go, because you're in college.
Right.
Because the reason I'm asking these questions, because there's somebody out there that was just like you, or in the same position as you were back then. They were like, nah, this is not working. So you go into college, you get the bachelor's, and you're like, nah, this isn't the right direction. I want to stay in this field, but I need to shift. How did that go about?
All right. When I first came out of college with the bachelor's, it was right after the whole Y2K thing. So things were down. So I had to take a different job. I couldn't go right into the field. So actually, what I ended up doing was physical security.
Okay.
So from there, I was still trying to build connections, but I was also, for myself, still working with family, friends, working on their computers in my own time, building computers, just kind of making sure I stay up to date with what was going on. So it was a few years before I finally landed with the company that would actually help me advance. Because the previous ones, they were like, well, we're going to keep you here. We like you doing this. And that's the thing. If you get with an organization and your work ethic is good, they will try to hold you in that position and not let you move on. So that's where you still have to kind of push yourself to be like, even though the money's good here, this is not what I want to do and where I want to be. So you got to keep pushing yourself and keep moving on, or move on to something or somewhere that will help push you along.
Oh, I don't want nobody to miss what you just dropped. You just dropped the nugget, and I don't want nobody to miss that. So many people don't realize that we become irreplaceable. That's the word I'm gonna use.
Right.
Irreplaceable. And we look at it as like this amazing thing, like, oh, I'm irreplaceable. But I want to shift your mindset. I don't want people to just think irreplaceable. I want you to become a linchpin. Like a linchpin is that person that goes out there and makes a difference. Like nobody does what they do. They're the only ones that can do it. So they can basically demand their fee. Right. But if you become that irreplaceable employee, you can't go because they want you to stay right there. That's something that I learned in my time in the military. I was such a great worker, and I was wondering, like, why I'm not getting promoted? Why I'm not getting promoted? Because I didn't make myself that linchpin leader. They were like, you're not ready for the leadership because you're such a great worker. And I don't want people to get so consumed in their life and what they're doing, and they're wondering why they can't advance, because you got your head down and you're focused on the one thing. And Kenneth just said, you have to keep branching out and gaining that knowledge to expand it. And sometimes you have to make that shift and go somewhere else. So how does that work when I know what you're thinking, but you got your family, your friends, you got this nice, comfortable position, and you're like, nah, it's not where I need to be. I need to shift. And I know you probably had some people like, well, I know you had support, but you're like, you finna do what? You finna give that up and go over here? We don't know what's over there. How does
Right.
that work out for you?
So at the time, one of the jobs I was working, I was making decent money, but the hours and everything, and I still wasn't where I wanted to be. So I sat down with my family. My wife was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take this huge pay cut, but I think there will be an opportunity on the back end to get where I want to go." And with the support from her, that's what we did. So it still took some time because once I moved to another company, took the pay cut, I still had to work my way up. And I figured out not only in working my way up was the people who were working with me, if I kind of trained them along the way, I wouldn't become that one individual that was dependent on.
Ooh,
So then I can move on. So
that was it. I like how because you just said that one individual that was dependent on, but I liked how you said you sat down with your wife, and then I know how you said you took the pay cut to actually get to where you need to be. And I don't want, especially this is for my younger people, especially in this social media age, since we're talking about technology. We have so many of our younger people that are in their late teens, early 20s, and they're seeing those individuals in their 30s and 40s, and they're like, I need to be there because social media allows us to see that stuff.
right,
But at the same time, you don't realize that it's what the kids say, it's levels to this.
right,
It's levels to this, and you just can't go from I'm 20, but I want to be doing with 30 and 40. Don't get me wrong, it's the small percentage that might get lucky and pop off.
right.
But you have to move up those levels because you can't go somewhere you're not prepared for. I try to tell my kids all the time, like especially my youngest, you can't be in the third, fourth, fifth grade and I just put you in the 12th. You're gonna miss all those years and not know what you're doing. So it's levels to this. So
Exactly.
for some of those people out there, because there's people out there that want to be in your career field, don't know how to get to it, you keep saying the connections.
Yep.
How does that work out inside of the IT security world? How does that work?
So it's kind of like for me as I was working in so I went from sales, and whenever the guys that would come around fixing the computers, I would start having conversations, building that rapport, and be like, "Yeah, man, I'm interested in moving over. Let me know if something comes open." And just every day, every time I would see someone, keep having that same conversation. I'm still interested. Let me know. And then I also went to my manager and let him know, "Hey, I'm interested in moving to the next field." And then I just kept doing what I was doing, but at the same time, my manager and these people would kind of be like, "Hey, we got a guy interested if something comes open." So at the time, luckily, and not everyone has the opportunity to have a manager that will support and back them to move on. My manager did, and I appreciate him to this day. And I actually still stay in contact with him from time to time. Um, and with him going and speaking to the manager of the other department and some more people, sent my resume, did the interview, moved on to the next position. Once I got in that position, I was in it for a few years, and then here's where the cyber thing came in. So now working this side, I'm exposed to more people because I'm going to the desk, I'm going in
Yeah.
different rooms, and then I'm sitting here because we have to work hand in hand with the cybersecurity team. I'm like, okay, what these guys are doing is cool, man. They're sitting here, hey, go get this laptop and bring it to us. We need to look at it. So as I grab it and take it to them, I sit down. I'm like, so what are you doing? I start asking questions, getting the quizzes, and they're like, we're doing this. We're trying to see what websites they went to, um, and different types of all kinds of things that people do. And of course, we'll get into that later. But I started building that relationship, seeing what they were doing. I was like, oh, cool. Let me go and go online and start reading about this career and pulling up some stuff and see how to move move from here to here. And at the company I was at, it was luck. I mean, I guess it was God. I would say it was God. An opening came up on the team, and I had built such a great relationship with the members on that team. They put in the word with me to their manager. It's like, hey, we got a guy that wants to come over. He's really interested. He's smart. I think he'll be a good fit. He picks up on things real quick. So from there, and my current manager at the time, the same thing. I had already built the relationship with him. It was like, hey, I'm thinking about moving here. He was like, great. I want to see you move on in advance. So I was like, perfect. So this opportunity is about to open up. You gonna let me go? kind of like that. And he was like, yeah, it's I'm not gonna hold you back. So from there, I jumped into the cyber field. And like I said, those relationships like they say, it's levels to the relationships because it's not always being in their face all the time. It's
Yeah.
just letting them know you're interested and just asking questions. And then once you see them do something, say, hey, so you did this, and this, like you've already got knowledge because you went and did the research. And then they're like, oh yeah, he's really interested. And he's already learned that and he's not on the team. It'll be a good fit. So that's how I kind of moved over into the field.
Oh,
And the other thing about my background is I know there are tons of people out there who've done security or cybersecurity. I got into the field, and I would encourage people to get certifications. However, on my end, I don't have any certifications
really?
because of the way. If you're a fast learner and you can get it, you can understand what's going on, you can get into the field and then go get the certifications.
Oh
So
wow. I you said something, and I want to lead up to that because you said like two or three things. But we hear all the time where people be like, if the door is closed, then I'm gonna make my own door. I'm gonna go make my own table, and I'm sitting there thinking, as you're saying this, it just reflects like sometimes it's not that they closed the door on you, but did you speak when they walked into the door? Did you say something when they came out the door? Or
right.
did you just be the friendly wave and a friendly smile? Like people just automatically say, I'm going after all the doors that were closed on me. Well, did you at least speak to the individual before they walked in the door and shut it? Because that's probably why they closed the door. And you just gave a good example of as people were going in these different avenues, you positioned yourself so that you can gain information from them, get to know them, build that rapport. But then, like you just said about the certifications, and I want people to see this because today, the era that we live in, there's no excuses. You can go to YouTube and look up anything, you can
Exactly.
Google whatever you want. And you just literally said that you do not don't advise everybody to just run out there and say they're
Right.
going to walk in the door without getting the certification. But what Kenneth is saying is you have to do your due diligence. If you want to pursue something, you just can't wait for it to be handed out to you. You have to do that's what makes you the linchpin, as we talked about. Kenneth went and did the research. And as he did the research, that was putting him in that position knowledge wise. So when the door did open, he can wave and smile and build that rapport. And it got him in the door. And I want people to understand that because we let those opportunities go by. Because if you wouldn't have made those connections just by taking advantage of that opportunity, you probably been still sitting there in sales or still sitting there on the phone going, hey, it's different avenues that you took. But while you're saying that, now that you're sitting in these positions and you said no certifications, what are these different certifications that people would have to get to even get in the position that you're sitting in?
So one of the so there are quite a few, and of course the certifications cost.
Oh yeah.
None of them are free. um, there's the Microsoft Security Professionals certification. Your basic one is, and I can't think of the name of it right off the top of my head. I have to look it up. Um, and there are there are tons of them, and it's crazy because you can go, and it depends on which area you want to go in because there's so many areas too. You have what I do, which is an analyst. You have the cybersecurity engineer, and the engineers are the ones who build the infrastructure.
Okay.
Like they put in the tools that help protect the environments.
Okay.
Your analysts, they're the ones who are day to day looking at the. Sometimes you have dashboards. They're analyzing emails, um, anything coming into the company. They're looking at it to make sure it's not a threat. So
Okay.
you have your analysts who are your first line of events. You have your second level analysts, which are like your leads, and then
Okay.
you have your incident response, which those are the guys who really dig into the alerts that the level one security analysts send up the chain through the leads. And it often stops there. They're the ones who really stop the threat per se.
Okay.
Um, so, and then from there, like I say, you have the engineers, and then you have the CISO or directors of the program, which are that's the highest level.
Okay. That makes sense. So so for your level, you're the ones that you're the person that when something comes in, you flag it, you catch it.
Yep, we look at
Is
it. Yep.
is this stuff that's just like, and without trying to go too deep because I know you got certain parameters, but is this like that stuff that's like inside the company or stuff coming in, or because you hear so many things like monitoring somebody's social media or something like that? Like, is it just company related?
Yeah, most of the stuff is company related stuff that we're monitoring. You have, uh, depending upon the company, if you have a company that's monetary, you're monitoring not the transactions, but the the data that comes in prior to the transaction or
Okay.
where it's coming from. Because you can have some what we call threat actors, which are your hackers. They
Yeah.
could be sending false information to get the money from your company.
Yeah.
So you already have a set parameter of who you know is supposed to be sending data to your company to request or get information back from you. So what we do is when we look at it, we're like, yeah, that one's supposed to go through. And we do have tools or what we call appliances, which are um, our first line of defense that alerts us. Some of it automatically blocks, some of it gets through. But the main thing and I guess it's good that it doesn't block everything because that's why we have a job. Um,
Exactly.
but you're like the first line of defense as an analyst. So
So now I'm curious because so during my time in the military, because of all the cybersecurity stuff, military stuff, and they're like, watch what you post here, or watch what you do here, and watch what you do there. So that led me to in my personal life, like I was like, hey, don't put this on your. So I'm talking about my family and all that. Like, don't put our location. Like, don't put this on. Watch what you post here. Like, with the information that you know and what you utilize in your day to day at work, how does that affect your personal life when it comes to securing you and your family and friends?
so so for me in my personal life, um I have the way I have my house set up is I have a router that's set up to, and most routers now come with what we call a defense, built-in defense for what most hackers or threats will do is what's called, for anybody with a website, they'll do a DDoS to try and bring a website down. And what a DDoS is it's a consistent amount of traffic steadily to your website to where nobody can get to it, only them, and it'll bring your website down until they stop.
Oh wow.
So you have routers now with that built-in protection. So instead of it allowing them to bring your network or a website down, it kind of catches it and bounces it back. So I have a router at my home to help prevent not only that, but it also tries to help block what's called malware
Okay.
from coming in. And you could get that several different ways, which we'll go into. And then also have all my computers set up to where they have antivirus and some sort of prevention where certain things can't come in over the network. I'll go in and program some of it myself just to make sure you can't get to certain websites because I have kids too. So
Yeah.
I want them seeing certain things so I can go in and program to where you can't get to certain websites. And my wife herself is a YouTuber, and we talked and we're like, she does a lot of stuff and people see a lot of stuff. So we block out anything that has to do with address information on it because and it's also good that people like to post when they're on vacation. You
Yeah.
should wait till you get back. And
Exactly.
we saw a lot of this here over the summer in Atlanta where the celebrities were
Yeah.
posting they were out of town and their houses were getting broke into. So it is definitely a good thing not to post while you're on vacation. Wait till you get back because you have people out there who are watching you that are jealous and they're like, hey, they're gone. It's open season
Open
on their
season.
house. So that's how I kind of, even with all my friends, I'll double check with them, make sure they have a antivirus, and you can get a free one. Free ones are good, it's especially if you can't afford the higher ones.
Okay.
They do some of the same things, but they may not prevent everything like the ones you pay for. And it depends on how much you're online. If you're online a whole lot, you definitely want to get one that's paid for. But if you're just on checking email and off and on, then a free one is good.
Okay, so now because you said something like with the post and everything online. Now it drives me to ask this question because we see it so much. Like when you think about like say a Facebook or something like that, what are those things that is there something or is it possible for something that people can do to secure themselves? Because I swear every time you look up another family member or friend is like, why are you requesting me if we already friends? Only to find out like, oh, somebody hacked me or somebody stole my identity. Like, what can people do to protect themselves from that stuff?
Don't use easy passwords and stay off these games that ask you how many children you got, what's their children's name, what's your children's name, and things like that. That is one of the ways that all your information, once you put it out there, it's out there. And hackers go in and scour the internet with any information they can find, combine any names of you and your household, any numbers, birthdays to get into your account, and once they're in your account is done. However, to prevent that, there's what's called in for Android users, it's in the Play Store, and for Apple users in the Apple Store. You can get authenticators, and
Okay.
it's two-factor authenticator. So, and I think Facebook has instituted this. And if you haven't turned it on Facebook, turn it on. So what happens is if someone tries to log into your account, you will get a message saying, "Hey, is this you? We need you to authenticate with this with your app." So even if they have your password and they're not in the regular place, sometimes I think Facebook detects it, sometimes it doesn't. But in order to get into your account, they have to have the number that's on your authenticator that's on your phone.
Yeah.
So two-factor authentication, you can use Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator. And but don't do the option where it sends you a text to type in a password, because that form can easily be hacked, because a lot of people will see a message pop up was like, hey, is this you? Do you want to allow this? And you not paying attention, they'll hit yes when they meant to hit no.
Yeah.
So what you want it to say is, hey, verify this number. And then if you say, I didn't send that, then someone's trying to get into your account. They have your password. Immediately change your password. But don't use simple passwords like 123. I
I swear, like some people use the simplest passwords, and you're sitting there like, "Are you serious?" But I like what you said about like when people, and I see you see the trend so much, and I brought light to my family, and I try to tell other people, I'm like, why are y'all playing these dumb games? Like it'll come out and be like, that middle child is the craziest. Everybody show your middle child. What's your middle child first name? And they be
right.
like, it's my middle child, so and so. And then they be like, oh man, this is your age. When they like, show us what you look like when you get older. Show us your baby picture. And they were like, your mom, what's your mom? And I'm like, why are people answering these questions and playing these games? Tell us your age now and what you're gonna be 10 years from now. And I'm like, y'all are literally telling them everything they need to know. Stop posting it. But
Yep.
people won't stop and then look up, oh, they got me, they hacked me. And I'm like, you told them everything. Like,
Exactly.
I don't get it. I'm curious because with IT and everything the way it is, the market for right now, because and this question I don't know, you might not have this answer, but right now the world sees like this trend of like with everything like Twitter and all that, and it's like, why are all these IT people getting laid off? And I thought it was a high demand. Like, is it a demand or are they getting laid off? Like, what is the actual the playing field? So what does that scale look like from your end? What do you see?
So from my end in cyber, cyber is still in demand. There actually aren't enough analysts. There's still a high demand for people, especially I know for sure in Georgia there are thousands of jobs that are still open in cyber that haven't been filled for the last 5 years. Now IT itself overall, because I think of the advancements of technology, where your desk side help desk support major um, was once your major form of getting the computer repaired. It's kind of slowed because of the advancement of technology.
Yeah.
Uh, and with 2020 and COVID and people starting to work from home, you still have that need for technical support or help desk support, but it's not at a higher rate as it once was because not many people are going in the office. If they have a problem, they either send their machine in and you have one or two people that's there that can fix it and send it back to you. You don't need the team of 5 or 6 people that were once in the office because a lot of people are not working remote. Um, and also, a lot of stuff is being automated. So, in the technology field, with so much automation, that's the other thing that's leading to the decline in certain areas.
Okay. So it's only certain that makes sense because I see, like, I remember you were telling us earlier about that the coding part, and like you missed the one word, but then the technology
Yeah,
we have today, you can go and just put certain keywords and certain phrases certain way, and you don't even know how to code, and all of a sudden you got a new website, you got an app, like you don't have to go find that individual. But from what I'm understanding is that's the cybersecurity part with the demand of the threat that we have around the world, hackers are
right,
always going to be there. That has not gone anywhere, and it's actually more needed more now than ever.
right.
So even though you went through the area and got to certain degrees, because you hear so much about, oh, you don't have to get a degree, it's a trade. So has the cyber world, like especially in your career path, like has it become more of a trade, or do people need to still go get a degree to get to where you are?
I think now it's more. It seems to me it's more of a trade. I've worked with a lot of people who have different backgrounds. Some may have come from, like I say, direct. Well, I, now I work with a lot of guys from the military,
Okay.
so a lot of them come into it and they're like, "Wow, this is different." And it's not so much that and it's because they grasp the concept and understand what's going on, so it's easier for them to pick up. Um, so it's kind of hard to say, but I think you can get into it. Like I say, if you want to know the stuff, it's out there, YouTube, everywhere, whatever field you want to be in. If you learn it and then you can express or explain these different details of what you're doing in interviews, it will land you a role.
And then you learn the rest
There's a
that you learn.
need, right? And then because each company has a different way of implementing their type of programs that they have in place. So you have so many different tools. One company may have a whole set that you've never heard of that you now have to learn,
Yeah.
or you may go from one company that you've used a couple of things and now this company has it or they're putting it in, and because you have that knowledge of it, they're like, oh, you know what, you can help us put this in and kind of figure out what we need to do. So in by helping them do it, it's what we call tuning and making it to where it'll alert on certain things. So if you have the, like I say, if you have the knowledge and a basic understanding of what it is that you're wanting to do in the cybersecurity field, it's you can get the role.
That makes sense. And so now, with you being at the level that you are, what's the next step for you, or that you're trying to branch off into? What's that next role you're headed for?
You know what? Because I have a 10-year-old, and most people are not like me. Like I like to see him grow up. Now,
Yes.
watching these other managers and directors having to work almost 24/7
Ooh.
and hardly no family time, especially when there's a big incident. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to take that step because I've got kids who I want to, kind of see grow up and be around. And if they have stuff to do, I want to be available to do it. So right now, I'm just kind of staying in my lane
Yeah.
so I can do that because those roles bring on more responsibility, more time away because then you're in meetings with executives and higher ups. So right now, I just kind of I was recently made the lead of the team I'm on, and I've been with this company for 2 years. So right now, I'm just kind of doing that role. It's taking up time, but it's not taking up as much time. My my original idea when I joined this company was just to be the analyst, do my job, go home. But
Yeah.
then the lead opportunity presented itself, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. So that was the next step, which I hadn't planned on doing, but since it presented itself, I was like, okay, let me go ahead and this is an opportunity. It may not present itself again. Let me go ahead and do this. But future wise, if I can, as I continue to gain more knowledge, I wanted to look into doing consulting on my own.
Oh wow.
So, and that's always been one of those in the back of my mind because, like I said, there are a lot of people, a lot of companies that, I could go in and say, hey, you can talk to this vendor. They can get you the specific tool you need to help protect against this. If you're running credit cards, they can get you this tool to help you protect against this. So that's kind of one of the angles I want to take because I know as a consultant, I could kind of set my own hours and do what I want to do. So,
Now, you posed a very interesting thought right there. And I'm curious because we have somebody that's out there listening, like, I love RT, I love this, I love what Kenneth's doing. But like he said, I want to be able to be with my family and friends without having to give all this time. You just brought up consulting. So, how would somebody that, from your experience or from people that you have may know, how would somebody go about that said, I want to skip this path and I go over here and I just want to obtain this information and start consulting? What kind of advice would you give them to look out for?
so in the consulting world, it's a little different now. I know for sure you definitely have to have a knowledge of a ton of tool sets that are available in cybersecurity,
Okay.
because you have the different industries. If you get yourself familiar with all those, and then you definitely, I would say, you're going to definitely need to be certified. And that's a plan I have that's in place that's just sitting waiting on me to get the certification because as a consultant those people are definitely going to want to see some sort of,
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, I know you have these degrees, but how do I know I can trust what you're saying? what
Yes.
what other form of learning have you done, or to say you're an expert in this field? So that's kind of the way you would have to go to do the consulting part.
That makes sense. So if you got the money and can go get those certifications, go knock them out.
Right.
Because hey, go ahead,
Yep,
go ahead.
and always look, and I've been and I kind of do too, because there's you may occasionally catch something like there's some websites. One is called Cyber. Occasionally, you may catch it where they may have a deal where, hey, you can come on our site, study, do these modules, and then take the test, and here's a voucher to cover the test.
Oh wow.
So yeah, you have those. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you earlier. Security Plus is the foundation for cybersecurity. That certificate is the foundational.
Security
Um,
plus.
yep, that is your foundational um, starting point for getting over into cybersecurity. But yeah, you want to just kind of make sure when it comes to consulting and things like that, you have that background. So
So either way it goes, knowledge or not, certifications need to have them. If you're consulting, it's good to have as you move up through the company, but it's also make sure you network and understand how to meet and talk to people and make unilateral moves. I like that
Yep.
because I was sort of like you when it got to that point. It was like, hey, it's time to take this next step. And then I look over, mine happened during COVID. And I'm looking at my family and I'm spending all this time with them because we're at the house. And I'm like, this next level will make it where I won't get to spend all this time. I would have been like you, like, I kind of want to see the kids more. I already missed out on a lot of the older two, but that was younger, had to do it. But I understand where you're coming from. And the reason I say that is because for those that out there listen, especially the younger people in the audience, like get started now. Don't hold off. Don't wait. Get ahead now and go after all you can because there comes a time in your life where you have to make a decision.
Right.
You don't want that decision. You want to be. Hopefully, you're blessed and you're in a position like Kenneth, where it's like I gotta make this decision for my family to survive. Versus, no, I can make this decision to stay back because it's not gonna affect our livelihood. And because
Right.
some people out there, they have to make that decision just for their family to survive. And I'm glad you don't. So now we know what you're talking about with the consulting. We know you're staying where you are in the place you are right now. But for those individuals that are out there listening, like what's that? Because I don't know if you had that turning point, but what was that turning point in that shift that said, this is for me and this is where I'm gonna sit at?
I think it was so once I got into cyber, I was like, this isn't I'm picking up on this stuff real easy. So I'm like, okay, cool, I can do this. Let me learn this, let me learn that. So once I got in there, and granted, the pay is decent. Um, for some, but it's funny because the pay is different for the different companies. So what happened to me was as we went into the end of 2019, the company I was working with, right, uh, got bought out. So I'm like, okay, here we go. So, and right around the same time, at the end of 2019, I lost my mom. So I'm
Oh,
like,
sorry to hear
okay,
that.
so company just got bought out. They said they're gonna keep us, and then I lose my mom. So during this time, which is this during this time of year, actually during the holiday season, from November to January, I'm like, okay, do I want to go back to work? I'm gonna take some more time. So I go back to work a couple days, and they're like, okay, hey, we got to have this meeting. We have a couple of meetings, and they're like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. You guys could either move or we're gonna have to let you go, take a severance.
Wow.
So all this is hitting me at one time, and I'm like, okay, what we gonna do here? So I just started looking for a different job because I'm like, I'm not uprooting my family. Might get there, not like it. They could
Yeah.
say, hey, we appreciate you coming, but now we gotta let you go. And now I've moved my whole family, and it's a whole mess. So
Yeah.
I'm like, nope, I'll take the little package and move on. So that's what we did. However, I don't know how the company I'm with now got my resume. All I know is I get a call, I do an interview, and then on the last day with that company, I sign my offer letter to the new company.
Wow.
And then I take 2 weeks off, and then I start with the new company, and COVID hits. March of 2020, I go into the office one day, and the next day they're like, nobody can come back into the building. You'll be working remote.
That's like a nice welcoming at the same time.
Yeah. I was like, okay. Um, and been with the company ever since. And I think that was kind of like the turning point of this is what I want to do, where I want to be, because it offered me an opportunity when things looked like they were going to go south, and everything just kind of held up, and I was able to continue to support my family and it just was a smooth transition on over into the next thing. And I will always be grateful for the way that transition happened. Um, but as far as cybersecurity, I think the thing that really got me was, and this is a story from a previous job where we were doing some research on a computer, and you'd be amazing what people do or try to do at home, and then come back into the office and plug in, and then boom, you get all kinds of alerts.
Now you can't say that and hold us there and not give us a snippet of something.
So the snippet of this one was what actually happened was the individual went home and decided they wanted to look up some adult sites, and and once they hooked it back up to the network, the all the bells and whistles, we bring it in, we look at it, look at the search history, do everything, and once it gets to that point, it's almost like, okay, well, we can't give this person their machine back. This has to go up the chain. So then it all becomes a legal matter, and you know how that story ends.
In this day and age, why the work computer when they have their own?
Yep. And you'd be amazed that people still do, even when they think that a VPN, which it does its job. However, when you're with a company that doesn't allow for you to use a VPN, we're still gonna see what you're doing.
It's a work computer.
Exactly, it's a work computer. I've had I've had recent ones where they're like, "Oh, we're sorry. We were just streaming a movie. We won't use our work computer anymore to stream movies." I'm like, why would you be using your
Why
computer?
even start? You have a. It's 2022. Like everybody has a laptop. Kids
Right,
have laptops.
right,
The Fire Stick. Like you got everything.
right.
Oh,
This is stuff you can't make up. I've gotten to where I'm not even surprised with some of the stuff that happens. It's like,
but
hey,
what's one of the craziest things that has happened?
so I think, let me see, recently, nothing recently. We've kind of, the company I'm with now, we've got things in place that's been really good. But prior to, with the previous company, we were implementing stuff. Um, I would say the craziest thing that's actually happened is um private photos on the company computer.
Really?
Yep.
You can't be. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but obviously, if everybody used that common sense, you wouldn't have a job.
True. That's true. That is true.
No, but I have to ask because I ask this question to everybody. For that individual that's out there that's listening to you right now, what's that piece of advice or that motivation that you would give them if they're like even considering doing anything in technology or cybersecurity? What would be that thing that you would say to them that you wish you had somebody tell you, even though you had the support? What would that one thing be?
Right. Now for me, I kind of wish I would have did a few things differently before going into the field. I do think I would probably been better off had I, instead of, I went to a 4-year college. I'm grateful for that. However, had I took the technical route and focused solely on that technical side initially, I probably would have gotten a job sooner coming out of college, as opposed with the 4-year degree, because it was like, oh, you have the education, but you don't have the experience. So you want to try and couple the education and experience together if you can.
If you
And
can.
it's tough. I mean, trust, in college it is tough. But if you do the technical route, and I know technical schools can sometimes set you up to where, hey, we can get you with this company to do stuff. That would have been the route I would have initially taken. But for today, you can still do that. But I mean, now YouTube, like I say, YouTube and all those are more so than ever can teach you everything you need to know. So I would say, I would encourage you to go on YouTube. You know, you can look up the cybersecurity fields. Um, and let's say you want to be an analyst. There's a list of every company that has cybersecurity tools or software that some companies use. It's online. It's right there for you to kind of say, hey, it's like for instance, you want to learn one of the big companies and one of the things tools that people use or that the companies use. It's called Splunk. Everything you want to know about Splunk is on YouTube, and it's used majorly by a lot of companies.
Oh wow.
And if you have a company that you're interested in working at, you could go to the company, um, kind of Google the company, and you may be able to find out, hey, what they use in their program. And they'll have job openings and job listing. It'll tell you what they expect you to have experience in or what they want you to have experience in. If you have it, it's better for you. So that would be my encouragement is to go look at these companies that you're interested in, find out, how what they're hiring for. If you see cybersecurity, see what tools they have, and then go and start doing your due diligence. So then, later on, if that opening comes back up, you can, hey, send your resume in, say, I got this experience using this, this, and this. Now
Wow.
that part I didn't do because I didn't think about it. And
Yeah.
YouTube is there, but it wasn't used for what it is used now.
Exactly. It wasn't. But I like that nugget because I never even thought about that. Like, if you're invested and you want to learn something, go look up what the companies want, and then go make yourself knowledgeable. You actually were doing it without doing it through YouTube. You were
Right.
just doing it through the people that walked through the office or came by.
Exactly.
Hey, what you doing? Like, you had a own personal one-on-one YouTube.
Yep.
but
Exactly.
but I like that nugget because I tell people all the time, like, I'm all about education, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to college route. I do believe college is
Right.
necessary for some careers, but not all.
Yeah.
Like, remember back in the day, you was like, oh, what'd you go to college for? Business administration. If I hear somebody say that now, I'm gonna be looking at them like, so you're just giving money away. Business administration, like, no, like, I get it. And that makes so much sense because some career fields, like you said, the trade side, or go look and YouTube it yourself. Man, that was great. But so for people, somebody that's out there listening, and they're like, man, that's great information. I still want to pick his brain. Like, how can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out and just ask you questions?
So they can email me, preferably. My email is kennethric@gmail.com.
Kenneth
Um,
RIC@gmail.com. Don't worry, everybody. I'm also going to add that to the description, to the YouTube description, so that you can be able to get in touch with Kenneth because, man, he's been dropping nuggets and hitting us with all kinds of stuff all night. Now, before I let you go, is there anything parting that you want to tell the world?
um, don't be one of the people where we say, I can't make this up about you.
Yeah, don't be that person.
I mean, if you and also if you have a company, there are steps to help prevent, fraud or those type of things with your company when it comes to cybersecurity. I mean, you can implement your own plan, like I said, even with the authenticators for your website. Um, it's just important, that you protect yourself. Um, and I'll tell you, even with your credit cards, you could buy a wallet that protects you from getting your card scanned. Um,
Wow.
yep. Also, when you go to the gas pump, tip, check and make sure there's not a card scammer on it. What you do is where you put where you insert your credit card. If you go up there, give it a little tug, just to check. If it doesn't come off, you're good. If it comes off, then you just prevented yourself from getting your credit card information stolen.
Little
So,
gas station.
yep. and just monitor your accounts. If you go different places, always monitor your accounts because there are people at companies that will get your information and use it. When you go out to eat, just always double check and make sure you don't have those extra charges. And when you go take pictures, there are a lot of people that have Cash App, Zelle.
Yeah.
Put a lock on those apps, because those people who say, "Hey, I'll take the picture for you," while they taking your picture, they can go into Zelle real quick, or they can go into Cash App real quick and send themselves some money, take your picture, and hang your phone back to you.
Oh,
So
wow.
lock down your apps with the fingerprint or a passcode to be on the safe side.
Wow. Now, mine aren't like that. I'm sorry. I'm ex-military, so my mind is always in security mode. But man, it's just funny because those things in my mind I wouldn't think to tell somebody, because that's like a part of life. But They make so much sense because everybody's not taught that stuff, and you just dropped some nuggets on us, and man, we appreciate that. Like, I know I do, and I know everybody that's listening do, and I can't tell. I gotta say for everybody that's watching, like, thank you for even taking the time to come give us this information. Now, don't get me wrong, we're gonna have you back on because I want to know in the future how this is gonna go. Because somebody like you, I don't see you sitting still too long. Talking about, you know what I'm saying? I see that consulting thing veering off real fast once you get that certification. So we definitely want you to come back on and tell us all about that. So don't go too far from that.
All right, we'll do. We'll be happy to come back.
But nah, man, again, thank you. Don't go nowhere after the show because I want to talk to you right quick. But no, brother, we really do thank you for coming to spread the knowledge. We appreciate you as always, and continue to do what you do, man. And we'll see you on the other side, brother.
Yes, sir.
Man, now it's funny the things in our life that we think are secure and that we do on a regular basis, and we don't even realize, like, are we really protecting ourselves? Not even just protecting ourselves, but are we advancing our loved ones? Or are we advancing ourselves? Because Kenneth said it best, like, in order to get where you want to be, you have to put yourself in certain positions and get to networking, get out of your comfort zone, get to talking to people. But at the same time, when it comes to your own personal life, not just your work life, make sure you're secure and protecting yourself, whether that be through your social media or through your banks or through just the apps on your phone. We have to do our job in better securing ourselves, our family, friends, and loved ones. But man, I know I had a great time tonight. Man, Kenneth dropped all kind of knowledge. He got me ready to go on here and check some of my software to make sure I'm up to date, just like you probably about to check yours. But as always, thank you for everybody that tuned in. Can't wait to see you next week, same time on Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. We will be live with another amazing guest coming on here showing you how they use their purpose to live the life that they want to do. And you as well can live your purpose and live the life you want to do. And as always, the way to do that is to continue to live your life with purpose on purpose. Until next week, I love y'all. I'll see y'all later.
I'm back.
Every time I walk out that door, every time I interact with anybody new, my purpose is to help change.
It's time to celebrate life. If you know that you're in charge of your life, it's time to stand up. If you know you want better for your life, it's time to stand up. If you know that you have what it takes to be in charge of your life, it's time to stand up. If you know that you are not just trying to be good for you, but for those around you, it's time to stand up. As a matter of fact, look to the person to your left and tell them you are enough.
I want to help you change, and just like you change, every time I interact with somebody, they help me change. It's no different than if I met an individual and they had 4 quarters and they needed change, or if I had $1 and they had 4 quarters, I need to change. We can swap the money. The value is still the same. They still got $1, I still got $1, but we both exchanged something, and it was a change for both of us. So every time I walk out that door, I inspire to help change lives just as much as lives have changed me.
Y'all been listening to the wrong people, watching the wrong things all your life, and it's time to put to rest all those negative thoughts, because you are enough. It's time to put to rest that self-doubt, because you are enough. It is time to get rid of that negative energy because you are enough. It is time to stop listening to people that don't have the best interests of you in your life because you are enough. So let's have a moment of silence. I want everybody to understand that you are the person that's in charge of your life. Everything that you have inside of you to be who you're supposed to be in life. You have a destiny, and that destiny can only be accomplished through you, by you, and only you with the help of God. When you realize that you are the person you are, because you're not a carbon copy, there's only one you. They try to put you in a box. Society tries to put you in a box, but you can't be in a box. How can you be in a box when there's only one you? But then they tell you, think outside the box. What I'm trying to get you to understand is there is no box.
I want to pass on the things that I have to the generations behind me. By the time it's time for me to get called home and go to the grave, I want to be empty. I believe in bankrupting the cemetery, so I can't take this knowledge with me because the cemetery is already full of brilliant ideas and unwritten books and innovative ideas. I can't take this with me, so I'm trying to leave it all here as Billy Graham Jr. to the next generation so somebody else can carry it on.